former U.S. attorney and author Kendall Coffey, whose new book, Spinning the Law, slipped my mind for it, trying cases in the court of public opinion. That part I remember, but Spinning the Law slipped my mind for a minute.
Well, look where we left off. We left off at an image where there's a gun pointing at a 6-year-old,
Yes.
and everybody remembers that. And what do you know where Elian is right now, and what's going on? Does anyone know?
He's in Cuba. He has a life of a communist teenager in Cuba, which is, of course, very different than what the United States would have had. And people move on from those kind of things. But the lessons that I learned again were, don't get killed in the court of public opinion. If you can, try to level the playing field so that people understand there's two sides to the story. Remember, the minute you hear about charges being filed in a criminal case, do you say to yourself, there's a presumption of innocence?
No.
I'm going to keep my mind open? Heck no. There's a presumption of guilty in the court of public opinion, and that's one of the reasons why you've got to find a way to get the public to think, well, maybe he or she didn't do it after all. If you can find that kind of strategy in the court of public opinion, you need to do it.
But when a case goes to trial, it actually goes to a courtroom trial, at that point, the court of public opinion, can it actually affect the outcome of it with the jury?
It's less important, but consider this. You're a member of a jury, and there's a notorious, horrible crime committed. Do you want to be the person that comes back to your home, your friends, your family, and that was somebody that said not guilty, let that horrible criminal go, and basically be one of the dumb jurors that committed a travesty of justice for the rest of your life? And so I think it does affect jurors if, in fact, it's seen that their acquittal is going to spell atrocity to all their friends and neighbors in their community. And those of you who are my age remember Edmund Muskie, the front runner for the presidency way back when, who had a crying episode in the snows of Met, and he never got past it. The family was getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. And so when they would have an emotional tirade, which only happened once or twice, everybody pounced on them and said, unstable family, can't take it. And yes, the human conditions that people are undergoing are not appreciated in the court of public opinion. No matter how tired you are, no matter how stressed you are, if you don't look calm, confident, and totally in control, it's going to be a disaster from a PR standpoint.
Because they made Maria look like she was completely hysterical. And I was thinking, as you know, a woman, I'm thinking, this woman must be exhausted. And she was doing her nails. They pointed out that she was doing her nails at one point. I was just like, who cares?
They pick on you at every turn. Compare that to a Martha Stewart, who always looked calm, composed, immaculately dressed, and coiffed, and everything else. And so that does become part of it, because so many times what jurors inside the courtroom or the jury of public opinion sees is just the visual of you, how you look, how you react. And a meltdown can be catastrophic for any legal case.
I'm kidding. No, I know, believe me.
Let me ask you this. When I think of the high profile cases like O.J., Michael Jackson, Robert Blake, these guys, they all walked, right? And these were on the state level. But when you think of Martha Stewart, which is on the federal level, she goes to jail, right? So is the federal government just better? They only go after people they know they're going to win? I mean, how come the state level seems to lose the high profile
Well,
cases?
the feds have some procedural advantages to be sure, and you got to look case specifically. But one of the important things about Martha Stewart is, even though she lost the battle, the legal war inside the courtroom, I think she won the war in terms of maintaining her reputation. She's a successful businesswoman today, and I think part of that was a Jersey court of public opinion strategy that said selective prosecution. She was a high-profile, successful woman that was getting singled out and picked on by the bad boys in the Department of Justice. Selective prosecution goes absolutely nowhere inside a court of law. It was never even raised as a defense by her very talented defense lawyers. But in the court of public opinion, it has traction, it has resonance, and it played to her base. Because frankly, all the successful women I knew thought she was being picked on and thought she was a victim of selective prosecution, which I think ultimately helped her.
So she was able to spin being convicted into, hey, yeah, whether I did it or didn't do it is irrelevant. They selected me because I was a successful woman, and that
dying
worked.
to get her. They were dying to
Unfair.
get her.
And consider how she never had to do the 3 R's of reputational reform. The 3 R's usually are repentance, remorse, and rehab, right?
Right.
She never had to do any of that. She had a different strategy that in many ways worked for her. The rest of everybody has to go in rehab if they're going to get by after a defeat in a court of public opinion.
That's interesting, because the other people that we talk about who actually lost, they won, but they lost public opinion, like Michael Jackson, Robert Blake, and O.J. I mean, even when they were, even when they were not guilty, people still thought of them as
because again, there's no presumption of innocence in the court of public opinion.
Remember that. James, when I take you to court.
Yeah, don't
when
get
I
in
sue
trouble,
you.
James.
I'm calling Kendall Coffey if I got to.
Kendall Coffey, the coffee or coffee.
All right, so let me ask you about the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court and the what's that?
I didn't say anything.
I thought she said.
She was going to. She was going to. She's
You looked at me.
behaving
You
today.
gave me.
I looked at you.
I-
You presume that I'm guilty.
I want to go back to the Supreme Court for a minute because I'm surprised that they could be so influenced by public opinion. And are they really that aware of what's going on? Because you really get the feeling like they're just like in their chambers all the time. Just reading.
Well, it's hard to say in any particular case whether they are. Most of the time, of course, they're not. But
Right.
everybody reads newspapers. Everybody cares about being criticized, and everybody cares about their place in history. And so my speculation, we'll never know for sure, is that it was much easier for the Supreme Court to rule as they did in the recount case because they knew the public had sort of fed up already with hanging
Right.
chads. And that way, shutting it down was something that they could do without creating a firestorm of controversy and negative pushback toward the court.
All right. So let me ask you this: out of all the cases in here, which one do you think is the most outrageous, the most
Compelling.
compelling? Well, compelling has to be the 2000 election, right? But which one do you think was the one where public opinion really swayed it?
I think
In a big way.
I think public opinion matters and everything, but oddly, the
Yeah.
example I would pick that illustrates the point doesn't deal with judges or juries. It's prosecutors. 90 to 95% of criminal cases never go to a judge or jury. They're decided by prosecutors who make a plea bargain. And I talk about two different wide receivers, one of whom killed somebody driving DUI, the other of whom shot himself in the leg in a nightclub. And guess which one got the most punishment? Not the guy who killed somebody, but the guy who shot himself in the leg. Why? My thesis is overwhelming public outcry demanding maximum time for plexical bursts. And when the public is saying hang 'em high, the prosecutor is usually saying when they enter into a plea bargain, how much rope do you need?
Well, Lawrence Taylor didn't really get anything, right? He got probation, I think. Right?
Well-
His situation.
And every case is different, but the bottom line is if you want a level playing field, you've got to get a message across in the court of public opinion that says there's two sides to the story.
But do you think with Taylor, like people just love him in New York? He was a big hero, and so it was hard to like taint him too much.
Well, celebrities get the best of times and the worst of times.
Yeah.
They're going to get investigated more thoroughly. But a lot of times, and especially in a close case, they may get a break in a very close case, and that happens sometimes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Once again, the book, Spinning the Law, Trying Cases in the Court of Public Opinion. If anything happens to you, Kendall Coffey's your guy.
Kendall
You want to make
Coffey's
sure
for
you have a
me.
good publicist. All right. We'll be right back with Brad Pomerance.
Thank you so much. Would you want to wrap my book for me? When James and Sunda returns from JLTV's The J Report, Brad Pomerance joining us for This Week in Anti-Semitism. Stay tuned.